Hello everybody, 'tis the silly one again, back for some more Battletech, and this time a continuation of the Project W stuff that I've been working on. The weather condition deck that applies global effects to the table or the board state and mixes and matches things up. And here we're going to look at the uncommon cards today. And remember that my original plan was to use a sealed type deck where a random number of cards was put into place. Currently that's 10. It doesn't mean it has to be 10. We could go back and try and limit the 13 card booster packs that were originally done, as the cards are all done on rarity. And last time I did 18 common cards that I'd created. Here we have 13 uncommon cards. Whether one or two should move from one or two categories to the other, fair enough. I'm open to options. None of this is set in stone. I think they're reasonably well balanced when it comes to power levels and stuff like that, or how much they affect the game. But you know, it's alright me thinking that, but people have got to look at it and try it and whatever else. So without further ado, I'm going to go through the 13 cards that are available, he says, tweaking his mic slightly. Okay, so number one, first card, Black Ice. Deal 3 structure damage to any unit that uses jump. In the common cards there are 1 or 2 units that did jump. They generally got bonuses. You do not have to use jump, and it is if they use the jump ability. So if they use the jump ability, they take 3 structure damage, and this is probably what Icy Terrain should have been, instead of being a really weak and insipid jump version of Rocky Gorge. In my mind, I quite like the black ice slipping and the mech falling apart on the image. In this case, so any unit using jump takes 3 damage. Remember, that's your units or your opponent's units, and additionally that applies to both sides. Okay. Next we have Cyclone. And the effects of Cyclone are that all units that engage in battle deal 1 less damage. Okay, so that's battle only, so that's a mission, and there's a bit on each side. Note that if you attack and are not blocked, battle doesn't occur. So units that attack the stockpile still deal full damage if they're not blocked. It's just units that engage in battle. Okay, so that adds a little dynamic element. Okay, 4 seasons in one day. The card inspired by the Crowded House song, or the amount of shit that comes down over Sydney or Australia, and to be honest it happens over here in the UK, and this is one of the few die roll cards in the weather deck. The idea is to represent the variation of weather all within a 24-hour period. So you roll a die, and the standard one is no effect, have a nice day. Okay. 2, each player scraps 2 cards from their hand, which is one of the cards that is in the common set. 3, you may not use abilities on support cards. So that means you cannot use A, L, M, P or T. So you can't use A, so you cannot repair. Okay, you cannot restock. Missiles do not work on a 3, and possibly more important, your level of initiative is 0, because A, L, M, P or T do not trigger. They are abilities. Okay, so basically we've nullified all of those. Okay. 4, at the end of your turn you must restock 2 cards. That's reasonably ubiquitous, but it's hand depletion effectively. 2 cards get restocked, so your stockpile is larger and therefore your life is larger, but you have less cards in your hand to play. Okay. 5, each player draws a card, and good old 6, roll twice and do both, which could be quite interesting. Okay, especially if you keep rolling 6s. Probably should have a rule in there about if you roll a 6 twice, you should lose the game or something, just to annoy people. Okay. Next up, we have Freezing Fog. And this is Alpha Strike cannot be used. So the idea here, and if you look at this frosty mech, it's all gummed up, and the idea here is that the physical machine gunny type, ballistic-y type weapons are all frozen up. There's ice down the barrels and other things. So just a way of reducing or removing Alpha Strike. Gale Force Winds. The idea here again is that the weather effect would stop people from playing missions and being particularly tactical. So each player's initiative is 0 and cannot be modified. And the reason it's 0 and cannot be modified is that you have cards like, let's just say Grey Death Pilot, that give you +3 initiative. And maybe that's too much. Maybe you should have 0 initiative. Note that there are also cards like Kai, Champion of Solaris, that says you win initiative regardless. So the idea here is to potentially, because the storm is getting, or the winds are getting in the way, to actually stop people playing mission cards. Jump is still valid. Maybe it should be jump. Any unit taking jump takes a damage. Not sure. Open to options on that. Okay. Hailstorm, the ubiquitous shower of golf balls. This is quite interesting. Command cards. So all your resources, all your command cards have -1 armor. So your improved construction facilities is now a 2/3. Your assemblies, your standard support assemblies, are 3/3s. Okay. If they haven't got any armor, like Diamond Wheels, then they still haven't got any armor, like Diamond Wheels. So again, this potentially allows for the destruction of command cards to be easier, or resource denial to be slightly easier as well. And again, remember, this is on the table. You replace it, it goes away. You get a different option, and a different option you could get could be Heat Wave, where each unit receives -1 attack, but gains overheat 3+1. And this is just again to extol the actual heat going on, and all of this temperature build-up, which is why these units are on fire. And again, if you've got a red line, that could be quite beneficial. If you haven't got a red line, then this could be quite detrimental. I can see a number of units dying to this, but I think everybody gets overheat 3.1. It makes you think about whether you are going to use your overheat option or not. Monsoon is a kind of missile reduction card. And basically it says your modified missile die rolls, so that's after you've rolled it, after you've taken into account Narc and Missile Spotter and Targeting Ace, deal 1 less damage. So if you've got munitions in play and you roll a 2 and you use a Targeting Ace to get it to 3, it still does 1 less end damage, so it would only do 2 damage. Quite useful against missile decks, but against other decks, possibly not. You never know. Penumbra. Subterfuge cards have no effect when revealed. Simple as that. This again, if you're playing a subterfuge deck, is really annoying, but remember it can be replaced. It might stall you for a turn, it might stop you playing certain elements, etc, etc. It also would stop disguised coordinates if that was valid in the game. That's still a question mark for me. Some people like it, some people loathe it, but it would prevent it. Rainbow. Yes. Ignore the effects of any terrain card. So your rocky gorges, no effect. Civilian settlements, no effect. Fog shrouded moors, narrow valley, whatever it is, none of them have any effect. You don't remove them, they're still in play, but they have no effect. There is a card that will remove them. That's a different one, and it's in the rare section. But basically, it allows you to ignore terrain cards for a turn, or until it's replaced. You might decide to leave it there. Scorchio. This is a very humour card. Scorchio. If you go and look for on YouTube for the Scorchio weather forecast, there was a British comedy show, I can't remember which one it was, and they did a fake weather forecast, and literally the entire of the country was Scorchio, and the weather presenter just slaps suns all over the entire map and screams Scorchio, Scorchio, Scorchio. So in this case, you cannot use overheat. Using overheat would be too much. I mean, maybe it should be overheat ability. If a mech uses an overheat ability, it should be scrapped. That's an alternative. This one prevents that. And that's kind of balance wise, because we've got the heat wave up here doing different kind of overheat things. Okay. If you think that needs changing, let me know. As I said, I'm quite open to some of these effects. Finally, penultimately, we have severe weather warning, and this came out in 4 seasons in one day. 4 seasons in one day basically picks 4 of the weather cards and incorporates them in. They are the varying versions. So this one says you may not use abilities on support cards, which is assembly. You cannot repair a unit because you've got assembly in play. You cannot restock a card because you have logistics in play. Your initiative is 0 if you have tactics in play, and missile dies do not work on 3s if you have munitions in play. That's all that means. The abilities of those support cards, A, L, M, P, and T, do not work. And again, you can replace it. And then finally, sweltering heat. All units are depleted at the end of each mission. And that's on both sides. If your opponent attacks, they get depleted. If you block, yours get depleted. Okay, simple as that. And that's actually really, really quick. There's like 13 cards, and it's taken me about 10 minutes to talk through them. Just remember, they are global effects. They affect both players and the state of the game. If any of them are too powerful, then okay, tell me, see what you think. I think I don't want specific situations where they're too powerful. If they've got this unit in play with one of these and one of those and that, then that's pretty extreme and pretty rare. I want more general stuff, because the idea here is that the weather does screw around with things like that and mess with you and add an element of variability. The fact that it absolutely destroys your super duper one combo mega deck doesn't really feature, because what I'd want is something where this has a game-changing effect consistently and allows somebody to win. And I've tried to design them so that they're not that way. That doesn't mean I'm right, it doesn't mean I'm perfect. But if there are things you're concerned about and things you want to change or look at or think should be bigger or smaller or different, please post, please say. Please give me some feedback. I'm quite open to that on this. This is a bit of fun and a bit of a development. And if it works, it's great. And if it doesn't work, then let's make it work. Cool. Right, that's the uncommons done. The next video will be the good old rares. And there are some pretty nasty cards here, I can assure you. So stay tuned for the next episode.